And honestly, I don't know who's more disgusting, Joe, his publicist, or TMZ for running this article and making this incident all about him. And I'm glad I'm not the only one disgusted with Joe, because one of Ashlee's friends, Savannah Britt, dragged Joe on Twitter yesterday.
He said it. He actually said it. After weeks of silence, after weeks of the internet screaming his name, after weeks of a grieving family standing in front of cameras demanding answers, Joe McCann finally opened his mouth. And when he did, he didn't just speak. He pushed back. He pointed fingers. And now the entire narrative surrounding the death of Ashlee Janae has been flipped completely on its head, because here is what nobody saw coming. It wasn't Ashlee's family that reached out to Joe first after her death. According to Joe McCann's own legal team, it was actually Ashlee's mother, Yolanda, who texted Joe on the very day Ashlee died. April 9th, the worst day of everyone's lives. And Joe says he responded. He responded promptly. He responded appropriately. And then, nothing. Silence. Yolanda never texted him back. And Joe says he has not heard from that family since that. So now his team is saying something that is going to make a lot of people stop scrolling and stare at their screen. They are saying the responsibility for that broken communication, it was theirs. The family's, not Joe's. Stay with me. Because this changes everything. Let's talk about what we actually know right now, because there is a lot of noise swirling around this case, and it is important that we separate the facts from the speculation. Ashlee Janae, whose real name was Ashlee Janae Robinson, was a 31-year-old lifestyle and travel content creator with over 130,000 followers on Instagram. She was the kind of person who made you want to live bigger, travel further, love louder. She was radiant. She was joyful. And by every account from the people who knew and loved her, she was full of life. In early April of this year, Ashlee traveled to Zanzibar, Tanzania with her boyfriend Joe McCann. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime, a birthday celebration, a dream vacation in one of the most beautiful places on earth. And in the middle of that dream, Joe McCann got down on one knee during a safari and proposed to her. She said yes. Her final social media posts show her laughing, glowing, feeding giraffes with that enormous smile she was known for. She looked happy. She looked like a woman on top of the world. And then, just days later, everything collapsed. On April 9th, Ashlee Janae was found unconscious inside her villa at the Zuri Zanzibar Hotel. She was rushed to a local hospital, and hours later, she was pronounced dead. She was 31 years old. She had just gotten engaged, and she was thousands of miles from home. The details that came out in the hours and days after her death were disturbing. Tanzanian investigators revealed that Ashlee and Joe had gotten into an argument on the night before her body was discovered. The argument was reportedly serious enough that hotel staff had to intervene. They separated the couple. Joe was moved to a different villa, about a 10-minute walk away from where Ashlee was staying. And sometime after that separation, Ashlee Janae was found unresponsive. Local Tanzanian reports began surfacing almost immediately, suggesting that investigators were leaning toward a ruling of suicide. But those reports also noted something chilling. A local outlet obtained records from a medical facility that listed Ashlee's cause of death as cerebral hypoxia due to strangulation and suffocation. Those findings have not been independently verified. The official autopsy results have never been publicly released. And Ashlee's family has rejected the suicide narrative completely and totally. This is where things get serious. Because while investigators in Tanzania were questioning Joe McCann and holding his passport, while the world was watching and waiting and demanding answers, Ashlee's parents, Harry Robinson and Yolanda Endres, were in New Jersey absolutely shattered. They had lost their daughter, their beautiful, vibrant, joyful daughter, and they had almost no information about how or why. They told every outlet that would listen that the communication they received from Joe was not enough. Not nearly enough. They said Joe called once to tell them Ashlee had been taken to a hospital. He gave them almost no details. He told them something had happened 11 hours before he was even reaching out. 11 hours. Their daughter had been in crisis for 11 hours, and they were only hearing about it now. And then the next call they received, it didn't come from Joe at all. It came from the hotel. The hotel told them their daughter was dead. Harry Robinson's words in those interviews were gut-wrenching. He said he just wanted to know where she was, who she was with, that she was okay. He said, just give us something. And the fact that they got almost nothing, that silence, is what has driven so much of the public outrage aimed directly at Joe McCann. But now Joe's side has an answer to all of that, and it is not what anyone expected. If you have been following this case, then you know that Joe McCann did not say a single public word for weeks. He made his social media profiles private. He went completely dark. And while his silence might have made sense from a legal standpoint, it did not sit well with a grieving family, with Ashlee's massive online community, or with the general public who was watching this tragedy unfold in real time. Then on May 5th, the day of Ashlee's funeral, Joe finally broke that silence. He posted a statement to social media, and the words he chose matter. He said there are no adequate words to describe the devastation, the emptiness, and the shock he feels after losing his best friend, his confidant, and his fiancée. He said he is heartbroken for Ashlee's parents. He said Ashlee's death is an incomprehensible tragedy, and he said that what Ashlee desired most was to become a mother, to raise a family together, and that there is no question she would have been an amazing mom. Now take note of something. That statement came on the same day as Ashlee's funeral, a funeral that Joe McCann did not attend. Because Ashlee's family had made a decision, they did not want him there. Joe was barred from saying goodbye to the woman he called his best friend, his fiancée, the love of his life. Whatever your opinion of Joe McCann, sit with that for a moment. He could not attend her funeral. But then, just 2 days later, his legal team dropped something that has completely reframed this whole story. And this is the part that has people talking. This is the part that Joe's side is now pointing to as proof that the responsibility for the communication breakdown does not rest entirely on him. Joe's attorney, Edward Andrew Paltzik, went to TMZ with a direct and specific account of what happened in the immediate aftermath of Ashlee's death. He says that on April 9th, the same day Ashlee died, Yolanda, Ashlee's own mother, texted Joe asking what happened. And Joe responded, despite being, in his lawyer's words, completely crushed by her death, Joe responded promptly and appropriately. He answered her. He gave her information. And then Yolanda never replied. According to Joe's legal team, he never heard back from her. He never heard back from the family at all after that. His team says Joe understood that the family was grieving and may not have been ready to accept what Tanzanian authorities believed happened. He says he chose not to follow up again because he wanted to respect their silence and give them space. But here's the key line, the line that his attorney specifically emphasized. His team says the family has always had Joe's contact information. They could have reached out at any time. They never did. This is a statement that is now being called Joe McCann firing back. And it raises a question that is genuinely complicated. If Yolanda reached out first, if Joe answered her, and then she never replied, does that tell a different story than what the family has been publicly saying? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Because this is a moment where the details actually matter. Now let's talk about what Ashlee's family has said publicly. Because their account and Joe's account are not fully matching up. Ashlee's parents told news outlets that Joe reached out once to tell them Ashlee had been taken to a hospital. They say he never contacted them again after that. Harry Robinson said directly to cameras that the fiancé did not reach out to them when Ashlee died. They found out from the hotel. And Yolanda made a statement that has stayed with a lot of people. She said she asked Joe when it happened and where it happened, and he told her that something had occurred 11 hours before he was even calling her. 11 hours before. So here you have two accounts that are sitting right next to each other, and they are not quite aligning. Joe's team says Yolanda texted him on the day of death, and he responded, and she left him on read. The family says Joe called once about the hospital, and then went silent. Both things could be partially true. Communication in a situation like that, chaotic, traumatic, overseas, can be fragmented and incomplete in ways that leave everyone feeling unheard. But the question the internet is now asking is this. Why is this detail coming out through a lawyer? Why is Joe's side going to the media with it? What is the strategy here? And does it change how you see the situation? There is something else about this case that has been sitting in the background of every single development, and it needs to be talked about. The engagement ring. When Ashlee's body was returned to her family in New Jersey, and this happened about a week and a half after her death, her family had to fight just to get that much. She came home without her personal belongings. All of them, including the ring. The engagement ring that Joe McCann placed on her finger just days before she died. The ring that symbolized the future they were supposed to build together. That ring did not come home with her. Harry Robinson told reporters that they have no idea if or when they will get Ashlee's belongings back. His belief is that investigators in Tanzania are still holding those items as part of an active case. But the absence of that ring, that one physical symbol of what Ashlee's last chapter was supposed to be, has become one of the most emotionally charged details of this entire case. It just sits there, unresolved, like so much else in this story. And then there is the matter of the investigation itself. Because while Joe McCann's legal team is now publicly pushing back and framing him as someone who tried to communicate and was rebuffed, the investigation in Tanzania is still technically ongoing. The official autopsy results have never been publicly released. The family conducted their own independent autopsy and has said results are still pending. The hotel surveillance footage that Ashlee's family has been demanding, footage that they believe would confirm or challenge the official timeline, has not been publicly shared. The Tanzanian authorities have asked for patience and said the investigation is proceeding through proper channels. But patience is hard to come by when you are a mother and a father who buried your daughter and still do not have definitive answers about how she died. Ashlee's mother, Yolanda, put it plainly. She said there is nothing that is confirmed. Nothing from the police. Nothing from law enforcement that states there is a conclusion to anything. She said it is under investigation. And she said it is under investigation because it does not look right. Those words, "it does not look right," have echoed through this entire case since the beginning. Now here is something I want you to think about carefully. Joe McCann has not been arrested. He has not been charged. He was questioned by Tanzanian investigators as a witness, not as a suspect. His passport was held, yes, but it was eventually returned to him. His attorney clarified that Joe voluntarily handed his passport over the day after Ashlee died. And when Tanzanian authorities decided to give it back, they also authorized him to return to the United States. He is now back on American soil at what his team called an undisclosed location. The fact that he was allowed to leave, allowed to come home, is significant. Investigators do not typically release someone they consider a serious suspect in a pending murder case. But the absence of a formal clearance statement is also significant, because no one has officially stood up and said Joe McCann had nothing to do with this. The investigation remains open. The questions remain unanswered, and the family's independent autopsy results are still pending. Let's go back for a moment to the argument that happened the night before Ashlee was found, because this is something that has never fully been explained, and it is something that the family keeps coming back to. Ashlee called her mother on April 8th, the night before she was found unresponsive. She told her mother that she and Joe had gotten into an argument. Hotel staff had to step in. They were moved to separate rooms. Ashlee was in her villa alone that night, and sometime between that separation and the morning hours when she was found, something happened that ended her life. The question of what happened in those hours, in that gap, is the question at the center of this entire case. Joe was in a different villa. He was about a 10-minute walk away. Authorities have said they believe what happened was a suicide. The family has refused to accept that, and the medical records that surfaced from a local facility listed strangulation and suffocation, which is not typically consistent with the method of suicide described in early local reports. There are people in this case who have information that has not been made public. The hotel staff who separated them, the medical personnel who treated Ashlee at the hospital, the investigators who have spent weeks going through whatever evidence exists inside that villa. And somewhere in all of that, the truth is sitting, waiting. Now let's talk about the public response to Joe McCann's statement. Because when he finally posted those words, the reaction was immediate and it was divided. Some people felt that his statement was beautiful, that it was clearly written by a man in genuine grief, that the way he spoke about Ashlee, his best friend, his confidant, the woman who would have been an amazing mother, sounded like someone who truly loved her. They felt his silence made sense given that he was under investigation, that he was legally constrained, that he was stuck in a foreign country without his passport. They felt it was unfair to hold his silence against him. Other people were not moved at all. They looked at the timing, the statement released on the day of her funeral, the funeral he was barred from attending, and they saw something calculated. They looked at the fact that it took weeks for him to say anything, that his social media went private almost immediately, and they asked why a man who claims to have loved her so deeply had so little to say while her family was standing in front of cameras begging for information. And now the latest development, his team going to the media to say Yolanda left him on read, has added a new layer to that divide. Some see it as Joe setting the record straight. Others see it as a man using his attorney to quietly shift blame onto a mother who just buried her child. Where do you fall on this? I genuinely want to know. Drop your theory in the comments. There is something about this case that keeps pulling at me, and I think it might be pulling at you too. Ashlee's last days were documented. She was an influencer. She posted her life publicly, and in those final posts from Zanzibar, she looked genuinely happy. She looked like a woman who was in love, who was celebrating her birthday in paradise, who had just received a diamond ring from the man she planned to spend her life with. If investigators are correct that she died by suicide, then something catastrophic happened inside that relationship in those final hours. Something terrible enough to make a woman, in what appeared to be one of the happiest moments of her life, make the worst possible decision. And the argument the night before, the one serious enough that hotel staff had to physically separate them, would be at the center of that collapse. But Ashlee's parents knew their daughter. Her father said nothing about it makes sense. Nothing adds up. He said she was always smiling. She loved being in front of the camera. Her mother said they were in a gorgeous place and they were happy. These are not the words of parents describing someone who was struggling in secret. These are the words of people who are genuinely blindsided. And that tension between the official narrative and what her family believes in their bones is what keeps this case alive. Here is another layer that has not gotten enough attention. The hotel, the Zuri Zanzibar, the place where Ashlee spent her final hours. The family has been pushing hard for access to the surveillance footage from that resort. Harry Robinson said it himself, there are cameras everywhere at a resort. That footage would match the timeline. It would either confirm or contradict what authorities have said about who was where and when. The hotel has said it is cooperating fully with local authorities and with the U.S. Embassy. The Tanzanian government's Ministry of Tourism issued a statement asking for patience and understanding as law enforcement proceeds with due process. But the footage has not been released. The family has not seen it, and the public has not seen it. In a case where the timeline is everything, where the question of what happened between the separation and the discovery is the only question that matters, that footage could be decisive. Its continued absence is something that the family is right to keep pressing on. And what about Joe McCann himself? Who is this man? Because part of understanding this case means understanding the person at the center of it. Joe McCann is 45 years old. He is described as a Miami-based entrepreneur. He founded a crypto investment management firm called Asymmetric Financial. His professional background spans more than 25 years on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley. He previously worked at Microsoft. He is a father. He was, by all accounts, a significant presence in Ashlee's life. She posted about him. She traveled with him. She said yes when he asked her to marry him during a safari. And yet, in the weeks after her death, he said nothing. His accounts went private. He disappeared from public view. And his first substantive communication to the media came not from Joe himself, but from his attorney, a Manhattan-based lawyer named Edward Andrew Paltzik. The man is protecting himself legally. That much is clear. What remains unclear is whether he is protecting himself from legal liability, from media scrutiny, from grief, or from something else entirely. The funeral happened. It happened on May 5th at Second Baptist Church in Paulsboro, New Jersey. The people who loved Ashlee, her family, her community, her friends, gathered to celebrate her life and say goodbye. There were tears. There were photographs. There were memories shared. There was a community holding each other up in the middle of something that did not make any sense. And Joe McCann was not there. Think about that. He called her his best friend. He said her death left him devastated, empty, in shock. He said she was his confidant, his fiancée, and he was not allowed to stand in that church and say goodbye to her. Whether you believe Joe had something to do with Ashlee's death, or whether you believe he is a man who lost the woman he loved and is being unfairly treated as a suspect, that moment is genuinely heartbreaking no matter how you look at it. Ashlee deserved to be mourned by everyone who loved her. And the fact that the circumstances of her death have created this kind of fracture, a fracture so deep that the man she was going to marry was not permitted at her funeral, speaks to how unresolved and how raw this entire tragedy remains. So where does this leave us right now? Joe McCann is back in the United States. His passport was returned. He has not been arrested. He has not been charged. His legal team is now publicly pushing back against the family's characterization of his silence by saying that Ashlee's own mother reached out first, that Joe answered, and that the family's failure to continue that communication is on them, not on Joe. Ashlee's family has not publicly responded to that specific claim as of this recording. They are still waiting for the independent autopsy results. They are still waiting for hotel surveillance footage. They are still waiting for the kind of clarity that would let them understand what happened to their daughter in her final hours on the other side of the world. The Tanzanian investigation is technically still ongoing. No charges have been filed against anyone. The official autopsy has never been made public. And the questions that were there on April 9th, the day Ashlee Janae died, are still there today. What happened during that argument? What was said? What happened after the hotel separated them and Joe walked to his villa and Ashlee was alone in hers? Why was there an 11-hour gap between when something happened and when Joe first contacted the family? What does that surveillance footage actually show? And why, now, is Joe's legal team going to the media to talk about text messages? Is this a man telling the truth to protect his reputation? Or is this a calculated legal strategy to reframe the narrative before more information comes out? I have been covering cases like this for a long time, and what I have learned is that the truth in situations like these almost never comes out all at once. It comes out in pieces, sometimes small pieces, sometimes pieces that contradict each other, sometimes pieces that don't fit anywhere you expected them to fit. And the most important thing you can do, the most honest thing you can do, is hold all of those pieces and resist the urge to decide you know what the picture looks like before all the pieces are on the table. Right now there are pieces missing. Important ones. The autopsy results, the surveillance footage, the full account of what happened in those 11 hours, what was said during that argument, what Joe McCann told Tanzanian investigators during all those hours of questioning, what Ashlee said to her mother in that April 8th phone call. Until those pieces are on the table, every conclusion is incomplete. And Ashlee Janae, this woman who shared her life and her joy with the world, who was smiling in front of cameras in one of the most beautiful places on earth just days before she died, who had a ring on her finger and a future she was excited to build, she deserves a complete answer. Her parents deserve a complete answer. Her community deserves a complete answer. And right now, we do not have one. This case is far from over. And something tells me we are going to learn things in the coming weeks that are going to make everything we have seen so far look like the opening chapter. If this video gave you something to think about, if it raised questions you hadn't considered, please share it. Share it with someone who has been following this case. Share it with someone who hasn't heard about it yet. Because Ashlee Janae's story matters. Her life mattered. And the truth about what happened to her matters too. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Joe's account? Do you believe the family? Do you think the truth is somewhere in between? I read every single comment, and this community has some of the most thoughtful takes I have ever seen. So let me hear from you. And if you are not subscribed yet, please do that right now. Hit that notification bell, because as new developments come out in this case, and they will come out, you are going to want to be the first to know. Stay tuned. We are watching, and we are not going anywhere.